Myth versus reality. Are Chernobyl mutants real? Hey everyone, what's up? Today, we're taking a virtual trip to one of the most mysterious places on Earth, Chernobyl. You've probably heard all sorts of crazy stories about it, right? From giant mutant creatures to ghost towns frozen in time. So, ever wondered if any of those mutant tales are actually true? Well, you're in the right place. We're gonna delve into the myths and the realities surrounding Chernobyl's so-called mutants. Grab a snack, get comfy, and let's unravel this mystery together. The Chernobyl disaster, a brief history. It's April 26, 1986. In the dead of night, engineers at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine are conducting a safety test on reactor number 4. Sounds routine, but spoiler alert, it goes horribly wrong. A sudden power surge leads to a massive explosion. The reactor's core is exposed, spewing radioactive material into the atmosphere. It's estimated that the amount of radioactive material released was about 400 times more than the Hiroshima bomb. Over 100,000 people were evacuated from their homes, leaving behind belongings, memories, and entire communities. The authorities established a 30-kilometer exclusion zone, which is basically a big, "do not enter" sign due to high radiation levels. Understanding radiation. Radiation is energy that travels through space or materials. The type we're talking about here is ionizing radiation, which is powerful enough to knock electrons out of atoms. Chernobyl unleashed several types of radiation. Alpha particles, which can be stopped by paper, beta particles, which can penetrate skin but are stopped by aluminum, and gamma rays, the Hulk's favorite, and the most penetrating. When this ionizing radiation hits living cells, it can damage DNA. Mutations explained. So, what's a mutation? In simple terms, it's a change or mistake in the DNA sequence. Imagine you're copying a recipe, but you accidentally add an extra zero. Suddenly, you're putting 500 grams of salt instead of 50. Mutations are a normal part of life and evolution. They're how species adapt over time. But when radiation enters the scene, it can increase the rate of these DNA typos. There are two main types of mutations: somatic mutations, which happen in regular body cells, like skin or liver cells, and germline mutations, which occur in reproductive cells and can be passed to offspring. The myths and legends. Ever since the disaster, there's been no shortage of spooky stories coming out of Chernobyl. People talk about giant wolves stalking the forests, fish the size of cars swimming in cooling ponds, and bizarre human-animal hybrids lurking in the shadows. Pop culture has only fanned the flames. Games like Stalker and Metro 2033 depict Chernobyl as a land filled with nightmarish creatures mutated by radiation. Urban legends abound. Scientific research in the exclusion zone. Scientists have been studying the Chernobyl exclusion zone for years, treating it like a living laboratory to understand the effects of radiation on ecosystems. When it comes to plants, some studies have found higher mutation rates. You might see trees with weird shapes or discolored leaves. But interestingly, many plants show remarkable resilience and continue to grow despite the radiation. Animal studies are super fascinating. Researchers have tracked wolves, boars, birds, and even insects. They've been looking at population sizes, reproductive rates, and any signs of radiation-induced health issues. Without humans around, wildlife is flourishing. Species that were once rare are now thriving in the exclusion zone. There are packs of wolves roaming freely, bears have moved back in, and rare birds nest without disturbance. Even the endangered Przewalski horses have found a haven there. Documented abnormalities. Some animals exhibit physical abnormalities. For example, birds with albinism, lack of pigment, or rodents with higher rates of cataracts and tumors. But these cases are relatively rare and usually don't affect the animal's ability to survive and reproduce. The abnormalities are subtle, not the monstrous deformations depicted in fiction. Human health impacts. The first responders, known as liquidators, were exposed to extremely high levels of radiation. Many suffered from acute radiation syndrome, which can be fatal. Long-term health studies have shown an increase in thyroid cancer rates, especially among those who were children at the time and drank contaminated milk. However, studies on genetic effects in humans have been inconclusive. So far, there's no strong evidence of a significant increase in genetic mutations passed on to children of those exposed. Radiation in the exclusion zone isn't consistent, it's patchy. Some areas are still highly contaminated, while others have radiation levels similar to natural background radiation you might experience on a cross-country flight. For wildlife, the benefits of a human-free environment might outweigh the negatives of increased radiation exposure. It's a weird balance, but life seems to be finding a way. Debunking the myths. Are there gigantic mutant creatures in Chernobyl? According to scientists and experts who've spent years studying the area, the answer is no. There's no credible evidence of oversized animals or drastic mutations that create new species. Sure, some animals have minor genetic changes, but nothing like the stuff of horror movies. The impact of media and misinformation. Media plays a huge role in shaping perceptions. Sensational headlines and dramatic images grab attention but can distort the truth. Photos of deformed plants or animals are often taken out of context or are rare exceptions rather than the norm. As consumers of media, it's essential to approach such stories critically and seek out reputable sources. The reality of mutations. Mutations aren't all bad, they're the engine of evolution. Radiation can cause mutations, but most are either neutral or harmful to the organism, reducing their chances of survival and reproduction. Some species in Chernobyl have shown adaptations. For example, certain microbes and fungi can tolerate high radiation levels, and some birds have increased antioxidants to combat radiation damage. Chernobyl today. Fast forward to today, and Chernobyl is a mix of desolation and rebirth. Nature has reclaimed the land, with forests overtaking former towns. It's both haunting and beautiful. Tourism has become a thing, with guided tours allowing people to safely visit certain areas. You can see the abandoned city of Pripyat with its iconic Ferris wheel, frozen in time. Lessons learned and future implications. The Chernobyl disaster was a wake-up call. It led to significant changes in nuclear safety protocols, including better reactor designs and more rigorous training for personnel. Environmental monitoring has become more advanced, allowing for quicker responses to incidents. Globally, there's been increased cooperation to prevent and manage such disasters. So, wrapping it all up, are there mutants in Chernobyl? The myths of giant creatures and bizarre mutations make for thrilling stories, but science tells a different tale. While radiation has affected the flora and fauna, leading to some increased mutation rates, nature's resilience shines through. Life has adapted and, in some cases, even thrived in the absence of humans. Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the myths and realities of Chernobyl, smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you heard any wild Chernobyl stories? Drop them in the comments below. And if you're eager to learn more, check out the links in the description for some awesome books, documentaries, and articles. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.